Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist, you want to go faster? Then let's giddy up. Hey guys, welcome to Faster U4. Brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Capital Cycles. So bike racing on the weekend. Quite a big one. And a lot of climbing. One of the hilliest races in the Wellington cycling calendar was held on Saturday, hosted by the PMP, Port Nicholson Paniki Cycling Club, the Rice Mountain Classic 2018. I did okay. I'll tell you what happened, and where it didn't go so well, and what I learned. Show you a little bit of techie data that I took out of the race, involving more watts per kilo info. What does it take to be at the sharp end to win, be in the top 10 at in an amateur climbers race like this in terms of power to weight? And I'll tell you about what's coming up on the weekend. Another double up, because this is the Wellington Centre Road Champs, the time trial on Saturday and the road race on Sunday. We'll have a little look at the courses, some changes, and some thoughts about tactics for especially the time trial. Okay, so Rice Mountain Classic held on Saturday. Let's have a little look. So total moving time of 2 hours and 34 minutes, a distance of 86.4 kilometres. Climbing, according to the Garmin, of 1,571 metres. Work 2,328 kilojoules. So almost 10 hamburgers worth of energy consumed there. Pretty big for 2.5 hours of work. An average speed of 33.6 kilometers an hour for me. An average power, raw power, of 252 watts for a normalized power of 331 watts. And almost all of that, almost all of the hard part was in the second half of the race, especially the second to last and last climber course. I'll tell you what happened there, because it was super decisive. A training load of 200. Hey guys, if you've ever wondered what training load means, it's a way of quantifying how much training impulse there is. And what is it defined as? So 100 load points is defined as your FTP, your functional threshold power, for 1 hour. So if I went out and did a time trial, which was 1 hour at my FTP, you get it. That's 100 load points. This is twice that. It's just a way of objectively quantifying, an output. And you can use that when you're coaching and when you're training, so that you can determine how much load you can functionally absorb and adapt to on a weekly or monthly basis, how many recovery microcycles you need and for how long. But I digress. All right. Let's have a little look at the data. The main two things really to come out of this. Well, as far as the commentary goes, mass start road race, around about 80 starters in the Grand Fondo, the longer version. And the start was very easy. A lot of sort of attacks on the front, though, from some good riders, notably Anthony Nalder, that didn't really come to much. There was the first couple of climbs were actually very strong. My legs felt good. I felt weird. I'll tell you what about my sensations on the day, was that I felt weird. I think it was just down to the fact that it was a bit colder, hovering around 13 degrees most of the time, and I just felt like I wasn't really in the right place in the bunch, and I didn't really have much mojo. And I think maybe the lesson to take out of that is just to say, look, this is my job today. I'm going to do it as well as I can. Remember what maybe the basics of positioning and the basics of drafting don't come as easily to you on a day like that. Well, sometimes some days at work are easier than others, and you just got to remember more manually how to do them and do them. Same for your warm-up and same for everything. So that's kind of what I had to do in this first part. A lot of riders dropped in these first couple of climbs. The remainder of the race carried on, and I don't really need to comment too much about that, with a bunch somewhere, sometimes spitting up a little, sometimes not. Mostly staying at around about 50 riders, maybe 40. So the most important thing happened on the final, second to last climb here. If I zoom in cycling analytics, I think Kaurarau Hill, this is called. Just so you know, I am descended from Te Atiawa, and that does make me one of the natives. Legitimately, I have a card and everything to prove it. I still quite enjoy butchering the language on a regular basis. Sorry about that. So on this climb, you started at the bottom, steep side, 5-minute climb. Very tough gradient, really. This climb is, if I highlight here, really from the bottom to the top, about 5.5 minutes, 1.5 k's of climbing. Look at this average grade, 11.4%. That's pretty vicious, and you genuinely need a pretty good watts per kilo ratio for this. This is where everything went to pieces. So about a third of the way up the climb, we had the very good climbers like Dave Rowlands, some of the smaller guys like Boston Bright, even good climbers like Rob Kilmington couldn't hold the pace. Me, a couple of other, Camden Fate, I think his name is. It's a good little unit. About 10 guys went over the top, pretty much together. Me, there was Toby Fuller doing a good job. We caught the group came together at the bottom of Admirals, more or less, and there was only about a 10-second gap, maybe, pretty much together, and then it was all on up Admirals. So as far as what it took to be in the group for this in the selection after the second to last climb, I did a little bit of looking at power curve here. This is my power curve showing all of my best efforts. This is using cycling analytics. So all the little, if you're looking at the screen, about 10,000 little red lines, most look a little bit like capillaries or something. They're representing all of the power efforts, and you can hover over any part of that power curve. I'll hover over the 5.5 minute mark here to represent that climb, and I can look at a list down here expressed in power to weight of all the efforts I've done. I actually did do I have done a couple of better efforts than this before for this time frame, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. My fourth best effort was Saturday, was the Rice Mountain Classic. That climb, the second to last climb where the selection really happened, was 5.478 watts per kilo. So let's call that 5.5 watts per kilo for 5.5 minutes. For me, being about 440 watts or thereabouts. Pretty strong. It was a good effort for me. That's what it takes. I suspect the guys who were 10 seconds up on us at the top of that climb, somewhere between 5.5 to 6 watts per kilo. And so that's for a 5-6 minute climb. The best pros doing this sort of thing, or who do this, in something like whatever the races were in summer, Tour de Aotearoa, I think it was, closer to 6 watts, maybe even 6.5 watts per kilo. So they are really pushing it hard. Guys like Michael Torkler, Robert Stannard, 6+ watts per kilo. And to put that in even wider context, 6 watts per kilo is sort of widely acknowledged to be the sort of point where in the Tour de France, the best climbers for a mountain final and an important day, and this might be in the third week of a Grand Tour, so you've got a lot of kilometres in your legs, will need to do 6+ watts per kilo, but for 20 to 30 minutes. We're talking about 5 minutes here. So that's what it takes in an amateur race. Now, let's go ahead and look at the final climb. So we've got a group of 10 guys coming into the final couple of Ks of the famous Admiral's Hill climb. So from the bottom to the top here, let's just highlight, we've got an average grade of 6.7%. Took 15.5 minutes to get from the bottom to the top. This is an FTP climb. It's kind of punctuated by a couple of little flat parts and even a descent. But especially the first half of this climb, the first maybe even 10 minutes, that's all just about knowing your functional threshold power and sitting on it. And I used that knowledge to my advantage to beat a couple of guys. Coming into the final climb, I mean, if I look at the results here of the RMC, so the provisional results, we would have a group containing Boston Bright, Thomas Stannard, Cam Faint, Boris Clark, me, and that's about it. Maybe, Eden Cruz, Dave Rowlands, Callum Kennedy, Stephen McKinstry. Samuel Tonello may have, no, he didn't make it over. So that's whatever, how many names I read out, there's probably 7, 8, 9 guys. Anthony Norder was up the road and had been up the road for half the race with Mike Naylor. And the way this really worked was just, hit your threshold power, try to get comfortable with it, and whoever was in the best condition to do that and had the best numbers over the course of this climb, in general, was gonna be the fastest. I dropped a couple of guys. We had Toby Fuller in there as well. So Toby went backwards, Camden went backwards, Thomas went backwards. These young climbers are doing really well. The guys who stayed up the road, Eden Cruz, so well known for his mountain bike qualities. He can go uphill like crazy. And we also had Dave Rowlands up the road with him. So you've got Eden Cruz, David Rowlands, Anthony Norder up the road, chased by me and Callum Kennedy mainly. Cal was an interesting battle between me and Callum. We're pretty similar riders in almost all respects. He was maybe 20 meters ahead of me for the majority of the first half of the climb. I just sat there on my threshold power and inched up literally inch by inch to him, and only attacked him when I found on the flat my power was a little stronger. Our power to weight on a climb is almost identical, but my gross power is probably a little higher just because I'm a bigger sack of meat, and was able to attack on the flat. Maybe broke him a little bit there, and he went back. I also caught Mike Naylor on the climb, who'd done a great job staying away from most of the race with Anthony Norder. So let's just quickly, before we look at results, look at the numbers on that climb. As I say, we were climbing for the best part of about, let's just call it 20, 21 minutes. My best, this is my third best effort for that period of time, and I put out 4.67, call that 4.7 watts per kilo. So you can see for the extra 15 minutes, you can really only manage a little less. So about 40 watts less for me. So, if you can, on an FTP climb like this, the reality in an amateur race like this is if you can produce around 5 watts per kilo, you can win in a race like this. 5 watts per kilo, bearing in mind, that at the end of the race, it's a very good, realistic interpretation of your real FTP watts per kilo capacity. at my best at fresh, I can maybe hold 5 watts per kilo for that period of time, but not quite at the end of a race. What did I say? So I was holding for 5th place overall, 4.7 watts per kilo on that climb. A guy like Callum Kennedy might have been marginally lower, and so on. And the top guys, who were maybe a couple of minutes up on me, maybe closer to 5 watts per kilo, but it's not huge, maybe 4.9, maybe 5 watts per kilo. So there you go, that gives you a good idea of what it takes. So I had a good battle with Callum. Oh, and near the top I had a good good battle with Boston Bright, who, it gets a little flatter, weirdly, towards the top of the climb before the final ramp, and I really just worked with him for a while. We swapped it out, but I had this feeling that I probably got about 10 kilos on the guy, so I kind of knew that even if his watts per kilo were pretty good on the steeper parts, I was probably going to be able to out horsepower him with a burst on the flat, which I did, and got away from him for my 5th place. So let's see how the actual results ended up. In the under 19s, Boston did win. It's 2 hours and 35 minutes, followed by Thomas Stannard and Cam Fate. 20 to 34 grade, Boris Clark came in ahead of me, 4th over the line, ahead of Mike Naylor and Matt Frecklington. 35 to 44 grade was me winning in 2 hours 35:29, ahead of Matt Sharland and Tej Knutsford. 45 to 54 age group, the quality legs of Brent Backhouse, winning by 3 seconds over Rob Kilmington and a minute and a bit over Craig Chambers. So that's always a good battle, the Brent-Rob smackdown. I don't know how it went, but I suspect there was a sprint on the line. Good for you, Brent. That's a very good match. The Brent-Rob battle is kind of like the Steve-Callum battle in their grade. 45 to 54, Nigel Medder-Wilson winning from Jeff. No, it wasn't. That's the next page, sorry. Same age group. 55 to 59 age group. Ian Paynton, known for his climbing mountain bike prowess, taking it by miles over Neil Harwood. Peter Kane, Stephen O'Keefe coming in for a solid 4th, who is probably 2nd on points now. Stephen Wheelchair O'Keefe, back from the dead, 60 plus. Steve Chapman taking it on the open. Anthony Nalder still staying 50 seconds away from Eden Cruz. So Anthony Nalder had been on a breakaway for half the race, just like the previous race, but this time he'd stayed away. Chapeau to that man. If you don't know, I was watching some speed skating the other day, and I just kind of like watching a bit of skating on YouTube and just kind of interested in whose name should pop up. Anthony Nalder. If you don't know, Anthony Nalder's got a pretty good pedigree in speed skating, inline speed skating. I don't know a lot about it, but he competes internationally in that as well, tearing everyone's legs off locally in bike races. Eden Cruz coming in 2nd, so mountain bike machine edging out Dave Rowlands, and frankly anyone who can edge Dave Rowlands, whether it's flat or whether it's uphill or downhill for that matter, is a confirmed savage. Callum Kennedy, who was just behind me, sneaking into 4th place in the open grade. So that is, is there some women? There probably is. Oh, under 19, Josh Turnbull from Stanley Riddle and Toby Braun. 20 to 34, Duncan Appleton from Nick Phillips and Lindsay Armstrong. 35 to 44, Richard Van Lent. Oh, this is the media Fondo. Richard Van Lent from Richard Henderson and Jess Mazengarb. 45 to 54, David Finlay from Geo Snelling and Warwick Mosen. 55 to 59, Brent Copeland, good man, winning from Peter Wilkinson, Rick Van Weed. That's good. Brett's had some health problems, so it's good to see him doing well. And the 60 plus Glenn Owen, taking it from Marco Rinelli and Ian Kirkman. You would think that 60 plus senior athletes such as these might be slow. They are not. Some of these skinny units have been around for a long time. They know what they're doing and they can go up hills. It's pretty impressive to see. It's pretty motivating. Right, so that's the 2018 Rice Mountain Classic wrap-up. Thank you to PNP for putting on another good race. So, I've looked at the power curve, I've looked at the race. I've shown you that power curve, and I would encourage you to do some data stalking if you ever feel so inclined. Most good riders have power meters these days. You can go on Strava or the software of your choice, do some stalking, figure out what's per kilo, and do some training. You can do testing with me. I'll tell you what your true threshold power is. You can target it, and you can improve it. That's what I think about that. Right, so the next weekend is the Wellington Centre Road Champs. So this is people who are members of the Wellington Masters Cycling Club, the PMP Cycling Club, the Athletes Club Masterton, and the Kapiti Cycling Club. Are welcome to come along and do these races. These were originally supposed to be the same courses as the age group national champs, which are in about 3 weeks. It isn't anymore because of road closure issues, but I think the courses are still pretty similar. So, you know, I would do them and get a feel for the roads, even if they're not exactly the same. The road race is here. This is the road race for the 96k version. And I mean, I guess if there's anything to really take out of this race, A, it's kind of lumpy, and B, the only real climb is Miller's Road. Everyone who knows Miller's Road has done it approximately 10,000 times. It's not the most exciting, it's not the steepest, and it probably won't separate out, be a really strong factor. It's only, whatever it is, 3 or 4% grade average, but you can see the difference between something like that and that climb I mentioned, which was the Kawarau at the Rice Mountain, 10+%. It's just huge, and you can't separate the bunch as much as you might like. So what does that mean? Well, it might mean that you have to attack early if you want to go away. You can't really rely on that climb. That's all I'd say about it, really. Could be windy. It hasn't been windy this year much at all. If it is, you want to watch crosswinds in the gutter. That's really what to watch there. 96k road race, it's pretty long. That'll, you know, the Miller's Road does come in the final third of the race, maybe even the final quarter, so yeah, legs could be a little tired by then. I mean, my tip would just be, probably on this course, pay attention, position well. That'd be the main thing. And in the 25k TT course, now I'm pretty sure this course I'm looking at here, which is from Gladstone, south out and back, Longbush Road, is actually the age group nationals course. This is not the course that they will be running for the centre champs this weekend. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what the course is, but it will be just, I've got a pretty good idea. It will be just flattish. Again, it could be windy. You don't want to run, if it's windy, don't run super deep front wheel. If it's windy and not gusty, you can run a disc just fine. But windy at all, don't go for a deep section front. That could be a danger on this course. And the only other thing I'd say about a 25k TT, this isn't like, this is a shorter TT that they're using these champs races, and it's kind of tempting to think that because it's so much shorter than a 40k or something you might do in an hour, that you can push a lot higher power, but you can't. Your threshold power is defined as where the lactate and the nitrogen build in your muscle to an unsustainable level, and if you push too high into that level early, whether it's 5k or 10k or 20k in, it's just not sustainable. You will blow really quickly. So my point is, you can sustain that effort for up to an hour, but you can also only sustain it up for 25-30 minutes as well. It seems sort of counterintuitive. If you think that you're going to push an extra 10 or 20% higher, you're going to go into that threshold plus zone, and you're not going to be able to sustain it, even for the 20Ks. Frankly, even if it was a 10K, it would be too much. So I may have mentioned this once or twice before, the message being, know your power target, know your true threshold power in your position, stick to it, don't start too hard. Interesting thing that happened to me in a hill climb time trial a couple of weeks ago is I did go a little hard towards the start, and I really felt it all the way through. Especially if it's flat TT like this, you're not going to get a rest. It's like on the track, you don't really stop pedaling. There's not going to be any descents where you can get any of that back. So it's just crucial not to go too hard. By all means, if you feel like you've undercooked it, and you feel like in the last kilometre or so, in the last couple of minutes, you've got a lot left in the tank, or even a bit left in the tank, you can bury it then and you're not going to lose too much, even if you do find you blow a bit in the last 500 metres. But you don't want that to happen, that scenario to happen in the first few Ks, because it's going to be miserable. You're not going to recover. And a few watts, 10 or 20 watts, can be the difference between a really good day and a really stink day. That's what I'd say about the Centre Champs. I would like to do well. Don't know if I can do well 2 days in a row, but we'll see. I will be trying to use my deep tri-spoke wheel on the front, but as I say, only if the wind conditions allow. Otherwise it'll be a Zip 404 paired with a Zip Super 9 on the back. It's a nice, stable, fast combination. And this is kind of like the big test for the age group national champs. That's what I'd say. So if you're thinking about doing the age group nationals, you should do this as well. May not be exactly the same courses, but it will be really useful for you. Alright, so thanks for listening. If you would like a training plan from me, you can go to Steve, or you can email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or you can go to our website. Look at the beautiful pictures of me, Andrew, and Scott, fitlab.co.nz. As always, this is brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition by Maximum Capital Cycles. I'll see you on the weekend.